Zampo, and welcome to this special panel discussion on one of the most important tax reforms in Bhutan's modern economic history, the implementation of the Goods and Services Tax, GST. Following its amendment in the summer session of the Parliament this year, the Goods and Services Tax is now set to be implemented from January 2026. That is just 5 months from here on, marking a shift toward a more efficient, transparent, and technologically driven tax regime. Our focus now is on implementation. How ready are we? How will the GST impact businesses across all sectors, and most importantly, what sort of support systems are in place for these businesses, these sectors that are navigating this transition? I'm your host, Sharaf Doji, and I will be moderating this panel discussion. Joining me are 5 representatives from key institutions and industries. From the GST office, we have the GST Project Director, Mr. Kunzang Tile. Next to him, a representative from the Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we have Mr. Ugin Chofel. Then from representing the Hotel and Restaurant Association of Bhutan, we have Mr. Chenchu Siring. And from Bhutan's manufacturing sector, we have Ugin Sechubdoji. And finally, from the tourism sector is Kiloanchu. So we will together explore sector-specific challenges, the digital and logistical readiness of the GST system, and practical steps that businesses, small or big, need to take in the months that lie ahead. We're just talking about 5 months. So we'll start off by understanding the broader view, just for our audience who are watching, who may not really be aware of what GST is. Maybe, sir, if you could give a short word on what GST is.
Thank you, Sharaf, for your kind intro. And on behalf of the Ministry of Finance and on behalf of Department of Revenue and Customs, who is taking lead role in the implementation of GST, I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us on this important program. And to begin with, for those people who are still new to GST, I would like to say that GST is a very simple tax, easy to implement, easy to comply, and difficult to evade kind of tax. And then technically, we say that GST is a destination-based tax. It means that ultimately the consumer who consumes those goods and services get to pay the taxes. And the merit about GST is like it does away with the cascading effect. We have a uniform rate, which is easier for all of us to remember. Mm-hmm. And then the key feature in the GST that we did not have in the earlier sales tax regime is that the import tax credit mechanism. So this is going to drive the key reform, mm-hmm. And GST is a broad-based tax. Unlike the sales tax regime, we had a very narrow-based tax. Narrow-based meaning that we had only a limited number of goods and services under the tax bracket. But with the implementation of goods and services tax, we would have included a vast majority of goods and services under the GST bracket. And then it becomes uniformly applicable to everybody. So it's a very simple and efficient tax system.
Yes. Implementing such a tax reform would require a lot of preparedness and readiness. So in terms of registration systems, filing platforms, audit mechanisms, are these all fully in place, or is it a work in progress for January?
First of all, I'd like to say that implementing reform size of GST is not an easy task. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a challenging thing. For the seamless transition from sales tax to GST, so we are preparing on the 2 fronts. So one is the functional preparedness, mm-hmm. and the other one is the technical preparedness. So on those 2 fronts, we are working very hard to get our people prepared, and then in due course of time, we also wanted to onboard the taxpayers, mm-hmm. and then that's how we are planning to proceed. So if I may explain a little bit on what we are doing on the functional base, so we have planned a series of trainings, both for our internal officials and for the external stakeholders. Mm-hmm. So these trainings are we will start conducting these trainings. The other one, what we are doing is this is our first show. So we are going to do a series of such outreach programs to the taxpayers to onboard them. Yes. And then on the technical front, we are also we have already we are almost ready with the GST system. So we have done a series of testing, and then we have three components in the GST like bid system. So one is the GST, other one is excise, and other one is income tax. So for GST, the system is already there. We only need to do user testing, and then we need to train our staff. And as a part of onboarding the private sector, we'll be conducting a end user training. So both on functional and technical front, we are ready, and we'll be there on the January 2026.
We'll get into details about what sort of trainings that are lined up. I'll go to Mr. Ugen. The Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the business community in general, spans across from large corporations to small enterprises. So do you feel, of course, trainings are yet to start. Do you feel like the outreach and education so far has reached all these levels, from larger to small enterprises, especially in rural areas? How do the BCCI see that?
Thank you, Sharaf sir, for giving me opportunity to talk on advocacy on the GST, which is recently amended in the parliament. And to the private sector, so I represent the BCCI, and I will be sharing the private sector concerns, which we have had a consultation in the past few months, and then we had very recently with our industry important member at the chamber. So here I'll try to share the readiness of the system implications and the advocacy outreach to the private sector. Past 3-4 months, chamber has been part of the process, especially in terms of outreaching the advocacy program on GST. And then we cover almost 9 regions, including Thimbu. Quite okay from chamber side. People are much appreciative of the move the government has actually initiated in terms of the new regime. So in that way, I think the more engagement, the more training, and then more kind of consultation process, if chamber is we put it into the process, I think in our case, we have a nice policy, we have nice act, but the issue arises when in terms of at the time of implementation. So rules seems to be tightened while we have a very noble objectives, noble long-term benefit of the country. So in that way, I think
the question is, are the the business community ready? How do you feel?
Yeah, the one section of the society, they said that I think the system is going to bring some transformative changes in terms of transparency, in terms of efficiency, because GST comes with technological upgradation. But other section says that are we really prepared? The concern our members are raising. So that's all.
I'll come back to you in a while. To Senju sir, you're representing the Hotel and Restaurants Association and the people working in that sector. So how are your members interpreting the shift to GST?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. I think the hotels and restaurants actually were paying BST. I think it's 10%.
Yes.
But now with the implementation of GST, I think it's going to come down to 5%. My major concern probably would be on the implementation.
Yes.
Like I come here, to be very frank, I came here ignorant of what GST will be about. So I just thought that as much as I'm ignorant of what GST is all about, I'm sure amongst the hoteliers and restaurant owners, probably there will be many of us who are in the same boat. So I thought being here, trying to get some ideas, some information from none other than the director himself, I thought we would be able to clear a lot of questions that may be on the minds of the owners.
What are you all doing from your side to ensure that the implementation doesn't really become a last-minute hassle?
I'm going to be very frank. As of now, I think none of us are really working on this. But there probably may not be major issues on this because it's already in the system. The payment of Bhutan sales tax, which is 10%, is already there, put in our system. So I think once GST is implemented, it's just a matter of changing the BST into GST.
Leslie. Before we go on to the GST threshold and all, so you have been part of the industry and business sector for so long now, and then now we have a transformational tax regime coming in. What sort of response are you getting, or what sort of perspective are you getting especially from the manufacturing sector?
Sharaf, thank you so much. I think this program is wonderful because we can create awareness of the implementation of GST, which is going to be rolled out in January. And also, I think preparedness is essential because once it's rolled out in January, if the business sector are not prepared, then there's going to be a lot of confusion. With confusion comes non-compliance. With non-compliance comes a lot of fines levied by the government. Then there's going to be a lot of private people writing letters to waive off those fines.
Yes.
And that in itself is going to be another task in itself. So I think DRC with their team will have to ensure that the transition from BST to GST is going to be seamless. This is one concern that we've had. So 6 months, when people within the present system itself, people are non-compliant, to go transition to a new system in a matter of 5 months to educate them and to make them ready for GST might be a little bit, I feel, a bit of a task. But
even for big enterprises?
No, for the bigger ones, we already have, our own, like, what do you call it? It's a corporation, it's a business entity. We are regulated by rules and regulations stipulated by the government. So we won't have much of an issue in complying to the GST. I don't think that's an issue. Of course, there will be a little bit of, I suppose, a process of training that needs to take place between DRC and the industries and manufacturing sector. But otherwise, I don't see the transition for the bigger business people or the medium sector business people to transition to the GST. Because the moment you are in the 5 million bracket,
yes,
automatically you become registered as a GST, under the GST regulation. So people, will have to keep track on what their turnover is,
yes,
what amount of business they're doing. And then suddenly they go on to the GST and then they don't file all these returns. They don't file all the proper paper, would then mean that they might face a huge fine at the end of the year. So that's the only complication where DRC may have to take a little bit of, concentrate on that a little bit more.
Yes, we'll come back to you with industry-specific challenges. Now I'll go to the tourism sector. You have also been part of the tourism sector for quite a long time. What are the folks in the tourism sector saying when it comes to GST?
I really do not know on the nuances, how it's going to be implemented, or like, for instance, as far as the tourism industry is concerned, I'm sure, the other tour operators have not started thinking about it. Maybe now with all these campaigns going on and information's being passed down, they'll start thinking about it. As far as the tourism, or rather the travel industry is concerned, see, there's already a STF being levied on visitors.
Yes.
Now we're going to levy another 5% on their expenses, basically, for using the services and all that. The good thing is the hotel rates are going to go down by 5%, but provided that the hotels go down and not, because it's up to the hotels, how much rate they want to charge.
Yeah.
The other concern that I have is, how do we know who is registered and who's not registered? Unless there is a platform where the moment we punch in the beneficiary name, whether it shows or not.
I'll ask this question to DRC in a while. So before we go to that, the threshold, Saugin was talking about the threshold. The moment you enter the 5 million, 50 lakh threshold, then you have to compulsorily register for GST. And then if your turnover is somewhere between 2.5 million, 25 lakh and 50 lakh, 5 million, then it is voluntary for any businesses to register for the GST. So talking about the voluntary registration, are there any incentives for businesses if they voluntarily register? How is that working out?
Before I answer Sharaf's question, I would like to reiterate here that GST is a big reform and DRC and Ministry of Finance alone cannot implement this reform. We need to obviously partner with our private sector. So we need the support and guidance from the private sector also. So this is not a bilateral, unilateral reform lah. So obviously GST is a very big reform, and then we will need to onboard all the private sectors, and then from the points other panelists have raised, I can see a lot of concerns arising from the informal sector.
Yes.
So if we are doing GST, we are doing GST for a few reasons.
Yes.
And then one reason is we want to formalize the sector. So that's one reason why we are doing GST. And then other one we are doing GST is like not necessarily to raise the tax, and then that's like revenue mobilization. But we are doing GST to improve the improve our productivity and efficiency. And then if at all we are going to make any gain from the reform, it has to be through service delivery and compliance improvement. So those are our some of the objectives. And then as such, for now we have not thought about any incentive, because GST in itself is a tax system that will incentivize people to come on board and then take a part.
It's basically a self-assessment model as such.
Yes.
I'll go to the Sarugin Sachibla. Manufacturing, because a lot of the businesses operate, the big businesses operate way above the threshold of 5 million, and many hover close to it, somewhere between 4.5 to 5, or a little bit over 5. So from your perspective, the way you have heard talking to your peers in the sector, are they seeing it as a competitive edge?
Okay, thank you. The first point I just want to highlight here is, on behalf of tourism, see, you have 5 months. Now everyone knows that you don't sell your tour or the packages in January. You have to sell your packages at least now, from now.
Yes, sir.
You have to start promoting your tour packages from now for 2026. Now, if the tour operators are not aware that this 5% is going to be imposed not on the SDF, but on the package that they sell. So supposing they sell a package of, say, for $500, and the SDF is 100, you minus 100, on $400 they're going to be charged 5%. Okay. Now, if they are not aware of that, they're going to be selling their package right now to their agents abroad for a lesser package. And suddenly when it comes 2026, they suddenly have to pay more. Then who's going to take that loss? Who's going to bear that loss? So I think awareness for tourism sector and certain sectors have to be started as soon as possible. We cannot treat every sector in the same way.
Yes.
You know, certain sectors is okay. You know, certain sectors you can delay till December also, and the transition phase is okay. Like for hotel sector, they're going to get a benefit of 5%. So they won't have a problem. You know, they'll be charging more. Suddenly they'll know that they gain more, because suddenly they don't have to pay 10% but 5%. So I think it's DRC would have to take cognizance of that and look at sector-wise which sectors to start promoting immediately and creating awareness, and which sectors they can afford to delay a little bit. That is one. The other one is that I think, I'm sure it has been a well thought out plan by the government to go forward with GST. And in fact, I think the consideration of the government to have actually waived off most of the EET. Initially, in the previous GST Act, it was there. It was a very wonderful move and good move that they did away with the EET. GST is the way forward, you know. And the reason why is it's common sense. Globally, most countries have adopted GST because that's the way that people should move, you know, forward with regards to taxation. It's a uniform taxation, it's a broad-based taxation, and also it's a transparent methodology of taxation, which will allow people to actually contribute to the development of one's country. You know, it's going to be very difficult to avoid paying taxes with GST.
Yes.
You know, because it's broad-based. And finally, it's the consumer that pays the taxes. So actually, it's not a concern for us, the manufacturing sector, where vis-a-vis with regards to taxation in Bhutan, because we pass it on to the customers. Before we roll out the GST next year, the regulations and the rules should be put in place so that the domestic industries don't face a problem when they GST is rolled out.
That's like- In the tourism sector as well, if you look at it, it often operates seasonally with varying cash flow and also. Are there any clear registration obligations? How are your peers in the industry, how are they considering seriously like registering for GST?
Well, like I said in the beginning, we do not have much idea, and so I really cannot talk on behalf of them. But one thing is certain, I think there's going to be a lot of, you can play around a lot. Like 55 million is a lot of money. I can have, just to bring my cost down, I can have 10 tour licenses.
Yes.
So I can sell 5% lower. So I think there's going to be a lot of loopholes that people can take advantage of. Then I was thinking, what will be the impact on somebody, a foreign tour operator or somebody from India? What kind of a edge will we have? Will we benefit or will we lose out? I think that is also something that I think the DRC should look into.
Lesla, to the Hotel and Restaurants Association, since you now the hotels and restaurants offered a bundle service like meals, accommodation, events, and also looking at it, has there been any clarity on how these will be treated under GST?
I think as far as the hotels are concerned, the very fact that with GST the tax is going to come down, I think now the hoteliers can actually the benefit from this. To be very frank, my major concern again is hoteliers. We have to depend on tourism. As a hotelier, you know, I mean, the tour operators and we have to work hand in hand. So their concern is our concern is their concern. For example, tourism, we don't, you know, the hotel rooms are already being sold for the next coming season. So again, you know, once the tax comes, if this is not again included in our pricing before the season, again possibility of again losing businesses.
How should the hotels and restaurants work out with the tourism sector and the DRC to solve that?
I think that's where educating the businesses is very important, and educating them at as early as possible. I'm sure probably DRC again understanding that that there may be more and more issues coming up. Hopefully they will also expedite the process of educating all of us in the business.
Yes. DRC sir, if you could maybe, because GST will be collected at every stages in the supply chain, Mola, and then of course there are credit mechanisms in place as well. So what sort of operational changes should the businesses foresee with the implementation of GST in terms of billing and invoicing and filing for returns?
Yes, actually now we are coming back to the main topic. So yes, like now today's show is all about how we are going to prepare our taxpayers for the implementation of GST, and then we have planned a series of activities to onboard our taxpayers. So first of all, like there are some compliance requirements, minimal compliance requirements that business units will need to fulfill. So first is the registration. And then, as I have already touched upon the registration process a little earlier, so business units who have done a return filing in 2024 and have a turnover of 5 million, we are going to migrate their data directly to the PITS system.
Yes.
So they need not worry. But however, there are also people who may have business turnover of 5 million, but then earlier system there's no incentive for them to declare the actual turnover, and then most people they end up filing estimated tax and they something called lump sum tax that they were practicing. So in essence, they would have declared the turnover which is lower than 5 million. So for those people now they will need to register, and then we will announce a time and date for them to do that.
Yes.
And after registration, all the business unit who qualify for GST particularly, they will be issued a unique TPN number. And then Pasang sir was earlier saying that he can open up so many licenses and then do all sorts of things. But we are going to come up with the bits. We are coming up with a single taxpayer view system. So if Pasang sir has 100 license, his license detail will appear. And then
I can have my friend's license work for me, my siblings' license work for me.
then they will have to do their return filing. So all those things will be addressed issue. And then return filing and payment all will be made online. And then through this, we our objective is to give business people more time to do business and lesser time to have to come to DRC. And then input tax credit, that is the key feature of the GST.
We'll come back to input tax. Before that, I want to, Ugen sir from BCCI, we are talking about this GST being technologically driven, digitized. So 5 million is not, we are saying it's a big amount, but then if we're looking at from a business perspective, it's not really a big amount. Some of the small businesses also have a turnover of 5 million. And then we're talking about it being digitized. So from the business perspective, from the business side, like Ugen sir said earlier, the big businesses, they're all set because they have the capacity. But then digital literacy, handling the digital technology is another burden altogether. So what sort of feedback are you receiving from the business sector?
Okay, unlike bigger industries, especially manufacturing and then even wholesale retail business, which they have an advantage over the accounts department preparing all those invoices. But particularly for the small businesses, the turnover of less than 50 lakhs, I mean 5 million, something like that. They will have initially faced some hiccup because they are not adapt to the system, because largely, especially the small business, they are not being so much illiterate. They tend to face a lot of issues, the complying, the technology that GST would actually bring on the operation of the, especially in terms of filing. So in that case, I see if government through DRC in collaboration with chamber, we could do a lot of things. The one thing we could do is, beginning, even starting from today, the discussion, I think more program, the training, the capacity building, including the GST agent, so who are actually delivering the service for the small businesses. So I think some sort of capacity building, both for the industry, SMEs themselves, as well as the GST agent. In that way, whatever the complaint costs they anticipated to face, I think the training itself will mitigate the issues at the beginning itself. My request is, so why not to kickstart the capacity building for the compliance, especially on the IT front.
Project director said they will start from August, and I think like Ugen sir said earlier, DRC needs to prepare a list of who needs to go first with the onboarding process.
But before you go for next question to him, we have 30, 40, I think even 60,000 the license holder. I'm a bit worried. No, within 3 to 4, 5 months, they reach out to the small businesses, the training. That is my concern.
The number of businesses, also needs to be considered. Less.
For that, I'll respond to this one. So basically, the fears are all about the preparedness. How are we preparing ourselves and the taxpayers for the ultimate implementation of GST? So I'd like to take this moment and highlight that we are doing series of activities to prepare not only ourselves but also the taxpayers for the ultimate implementation of GST. And then first thing, the number one, what we are planning to do is GST is going to be driven an invoicing culture. So based on the invoicing culture, it has to be driven like that. So we are going to come out with the invoicing guideline for the businesses. And then invoicing guidelines will be issued as per the business rule of the GST. So that is as per the GST law. So there are few certain features need to be captured clearly on the invoice. So we are going to tell our business people what are the fields that needs to be included on the invoicing invoice. And then second thing, like we, like as Ugen was highlighting, like we are going to have a series of training programs lah.
We'll come to the training, sir. I'll go through that training in a while. We also have DRC is looking at GST agents, so we'll come to that in a while lah.
And then coming back to the threshold, so 5 million has been determined as the compulsory registrant, and then going by international standard, 5 million, our 5 million miltrum is quite high, and then that's why only we are targeting, when we talk about the GST, we are talking about the high value business units.
Businesses, yes.
And then that's why the other smaller ones will not fall into the GST bracket, and then so they need not worry about the GST. But what they need to do is they need to keep their business regular, and then in times to come, when they gradually improve their turnover, and then they also get to qualify to the GST threshold. So that's how 5 million I think plays an important part, and then 2.5 million is a voluntary registration. Anybody, any business unit who have a annual turnover of 2.5 million, it means that they have a good potential of coming to that 5 million threshold. So that's why we allow the law allows them to come as a voluntary registrant.
Yes. Our focus now is on implementation. How ready are we? How will the GST impact businesses across all sectors, and most importantly, what sort of support systems are in place for these businesses, these sectors that are navigating this transition? We'll go ahead with the input tax credit, because ITC, the input tax credit, is central to the GST design. Maybe for some of the businesses, maybe this can be used as an opportunity to educate our businesses. What is input tax credit, and how will businesses benefit from that?
Okay, now to understand import tax credit, we will let us first talk some few words about our legacy system. We had sales tax previously. We still have sales tax right now, but under the sales tax, one thing that we didn't have was the input tax credit system. So which means whatever business we are doing, so in the earlier stages, the sales tax becomes applicable, and then in the next stage, when we move to the next stage, that tax is not available as an input tax credit.
Yes.
And then so therefore that tax gets embedded in the cost of the good, and then that creates a cascading effect. But in the GST, now we are going to, when we start implementing GST, whatever tax we have paid in the early stage as an input tax credit, in the next stage of supply, all the tax that we have paid in the earliest stage will be available as an input tax credit adjustment.
You mean that the customer ends up paying more than 5%?
No, let us show.
Because customer will end up paying more than 5%. Because if you're looking at, say, the company from India, see, let's just take, for example, Nestle. So the Nestle supplies to a wholesaler. So the wholesaler pays 5%. Then the wholesaler marks up. ITC, he gets his ITC, 45% he paid on the, but he marks up sells it to a distributor.
Yes.
Then the distributor marks up 5%, he gets his. So the distributor doesn't face any loss because he gets all his ITC. The wholesaler gets his ITC, eventually goes to the retailer. The retailer also gets his ITC, but the customer ends up paying more than 5%.
Now we are saying GST. So GST is a value addition tax. And then as I said earlier, we are doing GST to remove inefficiencies. And then this will be, GST is going to drive economy based on the value addition. If if the supply of Nestle from wholesaler to retailer, what is the value addition when it reaches to retailer? And then again, from the retailer to ultimate seller, when the retailer says what is the value addition? So if there is no significant value addition, then that GST calculation, that application of 5% will not increase. But
your profit margin is there.
But
On the
only on
because
the
5% GST is charged on the sales price, not on the purchase price.
Yes, so it will happen like that. Now 5% is on value addition. It goes on the value addition. If there is no significant value addition, that 5% on insignificant value addition will obviously be very minimal.
No, it is minimal, but it's still more than 5%.
How GST system will remove the inefficiencies is that if there is no significant value addition in the process, in the supply chain. So now the supplier will have to think over that. So whether he wants his product to go through all the supply chain and then evaluate it like just for just for somebody to add their margin and then keep going down the line to the ultimate supplier. So that thing will drive the efficiency.
No, but
So,
I just like to raise this one pertinent issue which has been brought up here. See, the concern we have is that there are two aspects to this. One is, of course, like I said, at the end of the day, GST means goods and service tax, and the GST is going to be paid by the consumer no matter what. Okay, because you have the ITC. So that means any person who inputs value adds will get the ITC back. They will get their 5% back. But on their profit, because for everything it is on the GST is charged, ET is being charged on the purchase price, but GST is being charged on the sale price. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So because of that, if there are different levels of sale, then automatically each person will put up their profit. So on the sale price, if the 5% goes up more, eventually the consumer will pay more than 5%. Okay. It may be 1.5%, it may be 2%, depending on the profit margin each level takes. It could go up to 7.5%, 8% also. Okay. Now, my question, which I wanted to also address here, is that, and these are just highlighting issues that may turn up and come up. I'm not concerned about the bigger retail outfits. I'm not worried about them because they also in itself, they're also the wholesalers.
Yes.
You know, they're also the distributors. So they get access to actually cheaper goods. I'm little concerned about the mom and pop shops. Okay, the mom and pop shops are the ones who buy from the distributors and buy from the wholesalers. So that means the distributors and retailers will mark up their margin after receiving it from the manufacturers. If I set up a huge godown in Jaigong, I'll set up a huge godown in Jaigong and I'll stock everything in Jaigong. Okay, so I'm buying directly from there. Now I open an online business, you know, with all the payment done. Today everyone's doing that. Today everyone's doing the online payment, but the issue right now is that if I do it in Jaigong, the BST is so much higher that there is no benefit in me putting up an online warehouse in Jaigong or in Thailand. I could put up a huge warehouse in Thailand and get all the manufacturers to stock in my warehouse, and from there I do an online direct supply. I will then take away all these retailers now because my margin, my cost will be much less because I'm direct to customers. I don't have that in-between person. I don't have the retailer to go to. So we're just highlighting this as an issue. We're not saying that because of this GST is bad. We're just highlighting this as an issue, possible issue that could come up. It could come up in all forms. It could come up in all forms where people will start setting up online shops so that customers have direct access to market. And this will then, in a way, affect the domestic industries in a huge way and also affect the small and small retailers and the small shops in a huge way. So what we're just saying is highlighting this issue. Will the government then look at this as a concern and maybe we were talking about licensing, that all onlines will have to be licensed now. Would the licensing fee be to such an extent that discourages online? You know, but at the same time, is that fair? So all these issues are being discussed, and it's something that we wanted to highlight to the government.
Before I let DRC answer, I would like to ask this question to hotel and the general businesses under BCCI or across the country. How do you all look at passing down the benefit to the ultimate consumers? What about the general business setup? How can you all, if the certain sector of the business benefit from the GST, how can you all pass it down to the consumers?
GST, the experts say that the GST is the temporary hiccup due to transitions that is made through from sales tax regime to GST. It can be resolved in a year, 1 or 2 times in a later.
What sort of pricing audits or similar mechanisms like anti-profiteering checks would the GST system put in place so that the concerns that were raised earlier about how ultimately the consumers will stand to benefit, what sort of systems are there part of the GST law?
GST system per se will not have any of those checking features because GST in itself is a self-regulating system.
Yes.
Because input tax and output tax adjustments are going to drive the pricing, how the market determines the price. When we implement GST, so that's why we are saying like no, we will accept the self-assessment from the taxpayers, and then that is the final.
Yes.
And then we will allow the market forces to determine all those check and balances.
Ask a question because I'm not very clear. I know that the ITC is there for the exporting industries. So if I manufacture something, for my raw materials, I pay tax. So all the taxes I paid for my raw materials, I value add and make a product, and then I send it to India or Thailand or wherever, export it. When I export it, then I get my ITC. I get a refund of my raw material input. Now for the export businesses, for where products are not imported into Bhutan, but we are like, see the ferrosilicon industries, the calcium carbide industries, the metal industries, that one we don't import into Bhutan because there's no demand in Bhutan. That is a totally export-oriented business. That we don't have a problem because the GST takes care of the ITC. Even though we charged the tax on raw materials, we get a refund the moment we export it. So of course, there is going to be a little bit of a working capital requirement, a little more working capital will be required, but that's about it for the export industries now. Now, I was made to understand that if it is actually supplied to the domestic market, I don't get my raw material tax refund. Is that true or not true?
No, Ashok. Like export, like if you are importing raw material and then coming out with the finished product, and then you are exporting immediately on the furnishing of bill of export, so you become entitled for the refund of whatever GST you have paid on the raw material.
On the raw material, yes.
And then that is one part.
Yes.
And then if you if Sir chooses to send some of your product to the local market, then local that the GST cycle will kick
Only
in.
the GST cycle, but
Yes,
I don't get a refund on my raw material.
Dashu, you are entitled for all the input tax la. So
the entire thing.
yes la. So you get adjustment la.
So I think for the larger industries, we're more or less because we've been concerned from the very beginning. So we've actually been in touch with the DRC. Our finance people have been actually in touch and discussing. We've been going through all the do's and don'ts and how we have to, comply to the GST. So I don't see so much of a problem for the larger industries with regards to the ITC. We've even also expressed concern on the working capital, which has been clarified by DRC that if you actually are able to give in advance to DRC that you need maybe 3 months or 4 months of raw material to actually function and work your plant, and that your sales will take place only after that period, DRC has been very, very clear that we could actually not pay we could have a deferred GST till the time we export. So I think all these issues have been discussed, and we are quite clear about that, at least for the larger industries.
From the manufacturing sector, are there any concerns when it comes to refunds about delays and all?
One of the, again, like I said, I just want to highlight one issue which, again, DRC and the ministry would have to, take into consideration. You have DRC and its team that regulate compliance very strictly. They're very strict. But they have to understand that the transition period from BST to GST would be, there would be a lot of issues. When you're talking about, so many license holders, the transition period, 5 million and above, who falls, who doesn't fall. Some may knowingly not fall, some may willingly avoid. Some may not file properly. I mean, there are going to be a lot of issues in this. Now, what the government, ministry and the DRC would have to consider is certain window period where the compliance factor, the fine and the, these regulations are relaxed a little bit. Maybe they need to constitute a certain committee, a special committee, to give due consideration to this instead of right now the tax appeal committee, but something separate to address these issues, because you are going to have a lot of these problems where people who don't have accountants, you know, people who don't have a proper finance people, people who don't understand GST to the full extent are going to violate, not knowingly. And because of that, today, you know, the government is then going to be inundated with requests from all across the country to the tax appeal committees, please consider, please consider. So I think this is something that DRC and the ministry should give a little consideration for, that if they can do that.
Have you all considered that?
Yes, sir, we have a transition plan in place, and then our focus during the transition will be onboarding and educating. And then, as sir was highlighting, we have also thought about, like, postponing the penalization of the non-compliant ones, because obviously this is a new system, and then all of us have a lot of things to learn. So we have all considered this thing in our transition plan.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that it's on record. That we will have a little bit of consideration.
Circular from the tourist line.
I've been, in 2007, I started my first venture after resigning from the government, a small radio station, Radio Valley. It's been about like 18 years now, and still now, every year, I have problem with my accounts people facing filing tax. And I've come to understand that we have very handful of people who can actually do that, which are all paid well, hired by the big corporate industries or companies. And there's a lot of medium and small businesses that we don't have access to it, neither can we afford it. 18 years, I'm still having problem with my accounts team or my finance team being able to basically do their job of filing the VIT. So I do see a lot of complications that's going to arise. And I was just thinking to myself, rather than spend a lot of money trying to educate people, why don't you keep a window, like a transition of 1 year, people who onboard themselves and give them an incentive, you know, for doing that. And maybe, I don't know, it'll spread.
Have you all thought about that?
Coming back to Sergi, that accounting thing, last time we had a stakeholder meeting, and then I asked as to, like, how many people do the proper account keeping, and then there were not many.
Yes.
And then I told them, with the implementation of GST, don't worry, GST is going to teach you all how to keep your books of accounts. So that is going to happen, sir. And then coming back to your point on not being able to find, like, professional accountants, DRC has been training our tax agents for quite a number of years. And then last year alone, we have trained 92. And then with the implementation of GST, we are even planning to train them more. So in the near future, it shouldn't be a problem for any business unit to find a tax agent who has the capability of doing all those accounting works.
The thing is, if it's a profit-making business, yes, you can afford it. But there are so many businesses, especially on startups. The very reason why they're called startup is because they actually do not know whether they have a market or not, or whether they will survive the next 5 years. When they cannot even pay their own employees, how can you afford tax agents or good accountants?
Startups, in my opinion, will not even qualify for GST.
Especially for the tourism sector, where you all have multiple service providers. We have transport, we have the guides, we have hotels. Has there been enough clarity on how GST applies to such bundled services?
I have no idea now, because I haven't come across any media advocacy messages, or maybe I haven't been watching the right.
What about from the hotel?
I'm in total agreement with Kajal.
I'll go back to DRC. Let's now look at some of the practical support, literacy agents you were talking about earlier. So since we have already mentioned that GST is a self-assessment model, and digital literacy we talked about earlier becomes crucial in that. So what sort of support is being planned for these small businesses? Of course small, but then their turnover is over 5 million.
Yes.
So especially in terms of digital literacy.
Okay, so coming back to the digital literacy, we are going to have a mass a GST training program.
Yes.
So some training will focus on the law and the regulation, and then we will have a set of training program that will focus on the training of our officials and the end users on how to use the bid system. So those things will be all covered.
Yes. What about the GST agents? I'm told these people, like the tax agents we talked about earlier, will help people onboard the system and work out
Yes,
their ways.
so we are not only going to train our officials, but we are also going to train people from different sectors. As such, we have as of now we have planned to train people from the financial sector, tourism and hospitality sector, and then trading sector. Then obviously our DHI companies like telecom and BPC. So we have we have planned to train all the stakeholders, and then even that will include even the, as you have mentioned, SMEs and all those business units that will qualify as a GST registrants.
But like Okilomachu was saying earlier, small businesses may not really be afford these agents. How will that work out? Maybe in the initial phase, are there plans to let these players be out there and supported by the DRC?
So we may have to look at those keys at later stage. So for now, our focus is only on the as per the records available with us. So we have around 3,500 business units that qualify as a GST registrant. So for now we are only focusing on those group of people.
Yes.
And others who might qualify later. So for now we will leave it at that.
How is the BCCI looking at it? Because private sector can, I can see private sector can play a huge role when it comes to through training programs and support systems, so that the network of licensed GST agents improves or increases over time. How is the BCCI?
Now, in our contracts in Bhutan, across the Dzongkhoks and regions, we hardly see the GST Datuk agents. Now, having more GST agent could actually connect more people having access to the system that is GST is bringing. So in that way, having more GST agent could create more transparency, efficiency, and then I do see people will try to comply the tax system, and then that will ultimately drive towards government's effort in terms of having a sustained, progressive taxation system, and then ultimately drive for revenue generation to the government, and then having GST in the form of present techno approach will the investors will come in Bhutan to invest, and that will actually embrace the private sector investment, including the attracting investor. So in that way, that I see there will be growth taking place, there will be development taking place, there will be more private sector coming up, especially in terms of complying the taxation under new system.
Yes, so again, I'll come back to you. We're talking about the input tax credit. Manufacturers deal with a lot of high volume inputs. So in that way, are you confident that the refund and credit system will work smoothly?
Can I ask one question,
Yes.
which is a little bit distinct? You said that you've trained a lot of people to address the GST, to basically do. One of the problems we have is that DRC actually does tax assessment only they say every 2 years they'll do it, but then sometimes it takes them 3 years, sometimes it takes them 4 years to do the test assessment. That was given post-Australia exodus. Sorry, now you have rush of people, especially after you educate them and train them.
Yes.
They're more inclined to leave, So my concern is that before GST, where the base was smaller, 3,500 licenses, GST compliant, means 5 million and above. Post GST, this compliance, this number is going to go up exponentially because of the fact that there's this link. Every business will link to another business and will insist that if I want my ITC, the person I'm dealing with, if he's above 5 million, should be compliant to the GST. So the numbers are going to go up quite a lot. Now, even with the previous 3,500 licensees and accounts that you all had to monitor, you all were giving a 2 years, 3 year period of assessment. And now so many people have left you all. I don't want to mention the numbers, but you know, it's quite a large number of people have left. The finance people have left. Now, when you come to GST, you have trained, but I'm still concerned and worried. And this is something, again, like I said, it has to be addressed. Now, if you're saying talking about privatization, GST privatization, it's going to be something like the Jaigong, port, where every time you have to make this Indian GST documentation. Now, for every product, you have to pay money. Just for little bit of letter, 1,500, 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees. Now, can our people afford that? You know? So if we let private do it, private will like it, love to do it. If government doesn't have enough people, the private will set up their own business and they'll do it. But it's going to be expensive for the business people. So this is another issue that needs to be looked at with serious concern, because we don't have a population like Bangladesh and India and Nepal and other SAARC countries, you know. We are, after Maldives, we're the least populated country. So the human resource is a major issue and a major concern. Yes. So this is something that has to be highlighted.
GST agents, the work that they will do, is it like the ones who are collecting taxes in Jaigong, or is it different? If you could maybe clarify on that.
I don't know how the Jaigong people are working, but ours will
documentation.
Ours will be purely to do all this return filing, assisting business people to keep proper record, and then at the end of the month when you have to do a return filing, so nothing goes haywire. So while we are training the tax agents, we equally want to train the business people themselves. So that they become capable themselves to do all this work. So taxpayer agents are just a complementary lesson, just to supplement tax.
I have a question again, because when I was running all these small businesses, every year I would hire somebody to do my tax filing. And somehow, I'll be very honest, I'm not so much interested in all that. The DRC accepts my thing. And after 1 year, they said, "Animitable, this is not right, that's not right." Now, even with the agents, they take the money, and if something goes wrong, will the business be liable, or will the agents be liable? Because so many times, because of the consultants not doing a good job, I had to pay a lot of penalty.
That's an interesting question. How will DRC address that?
I think those things will have to be looked into at later part. But for now, we are talking about the return filing and then the DRC doing assessment after a few years. So currently, we were mandated by law to do that assessment, remember, full assessment. Now that we all know that we have also amended, we have overhauled the income tax, and then we have also overhauled GST and excise. So in all the three tax types, we are going to consider whatever assessment that is being submitted to us by the taxpayers as the final. And then the system will pick up all the risky ones, and then that's how we are going to approach. So now assessment will become easier.
I think we have almost come towards the end of our discussion. I'll just maybe get final thoughts from you all. I'll start with Okilowanchu from the far left. So what sort of biggest risk or unresolved issues you see in your sector as we approach January? In the tourism sector, so to say, because if we understand that early on, it will help us ease in the transition period quite, because from January, then the GST system starts and people should know.
The first and foremost is my finance team are going to have a difficult time trying to figure out how things work and to comply with the rules. The second thing is, I think in between ourselves, the partners, I think there'll be a lot of not really problem as such, but like for instance, I'll give you a simple example. My wife had deposited 5,000 miltrum extra because she made a mistake, and the person to whom she was depositing, who was basically a business entity, wanted a letter from the DRCs to say that it's okay for her to refund. I think this is to do with, I don't know what it is, but I think it's to do with business people not understanding business or the rules. And most of all, I think this concern would be all of us in the industry, the travel industry or the tourism industry, that it can bring the cost of the travel higher than what it was, considering that we have a very high daily, not really a visa fee, but like a royalty kind of STF basically. So that would be my main concern. And well, for me, I just suppose we see where it goes.
Nestle. So again, you have talked about how the bigger businesses might be a bit comfortable, but to speak on behalf of the small and medium enterprises, how do you see one of the biggest risks?
When you're talking about bigger, it's not the bigger. See, we should not take it out of context and make it big and small. Basically, any domestic manufacturing sector within our country,
Yes.
be it small, medium or large, is going to be affected by the GST rollout. Okay, la. So you're talking about our textiles. The textiles was highly taxed as a BST. There was a huge BST. Now they're 5%. Now our government, around a few years ago, what did the government say? Import substitute say. Butni should become more innovative, start producing, do import substitute. Now the furniture industry has actually taken up the challenge.
Yes.
And a lot of them invest in furniture. Now furniture, what was the BST on furniture? 28%, 30%, 40%, depending on the value. And it was all per value.
Yes.
Now today is 5%. And therefore, this thing, of course, DRC representative project director Nacho, that from my side, my only request is that we need to sit together, the government and the private sector, and we need to look for a way forward to address this crucial and important issue on how we can save domestic industries within our country.
Leslie, thank you. So from the hotel and restaurants perspective, what would be that one thing that would help you all ease in this transition?
I think educating the people working in the sector would definitely ease in the transition. So for me, I think, as already mentioned, educating almost everyone who's working in this sector needs to be fully educated, and awareness needs to be created. But again, one thing I would also like to ask is, as the implementing agency, Revenue Customs, I'm sure before this was actually discussed even in the Parliament, I'm sure the organization would have done a proper study where I'm sure after the study, the organization would have been satisfied that, if we implement this, it's going to be good for the nation, for its people. So, would like to hear something on this also. Yes. Whether how long the study was done, and what was the outcome of the study, how beneficial this study on GST would be for the nation as well as the people.
Yes. Finally, from BCCI, how do you all see BCCI as an organization helping out and reaching out to businesses so that this onboarding processes becomes easier, the transition phase?
The only way that chamber could do is to collaborate with the DRC and then relevant stakeholders like our sector associations. So here in Bhutan, under Chamber of Commerce and Industries, from big to medium to small, all together across 20 Dzongkhag, we have 20 affiliated sector associations, all of which are part of chamber. We are meeting on the regular basis.
Yes.
So, and then these sectors are part of chambers, eyes and wings, and they are actually the members who reach out to the businesses present everywhere. So in that way, we could really help programming the advocacy
Yes.
and programming in terms of including the capacity building on the GST, the technology, the system. So I will believe in that way the member could be more aware, could be more adapted to the new system, and this could play a very important role.
Final word from you, the project director said, what's one message that you have to the business community for those who haven't registered yet, for those who still have doubts? What's the one thing that they need to know before January?
My key takeaway is that as a Department of Revenue and Customs and Ministry of Finance, we have a long way ahead to educate people on the GST. And coming back to a question from Chenjisa, like the conclusive studies have been done. It has been done. We have been doing that studies since 2018, and then we have published so many reports, and we have even presented those reports to the highest authority, and we have come to the conclusion that despite all the apprehensions we have, GST is the best tax system for us moving forward. And for those people who are still apprehensive, I know this is a big change coming, and we all it's a natural for people to get overwhelmed when such big change like this is coming. But still, I would like to tell people who are watching this program that yes, January 2026, we are going to implement GST. And for those people who are still having doubt on GST, my advice is to please check whether you are eligible for GST registration or not, and then for that you will have to have a lawfully your turnover will have to be 5 million. If you have a business turnover of 5 million, you qualify for GST. Get yourself registered. If you have if you have correctly done your return filing and your return filing says you have a turnover of 5 million, we would have automatically registered you as a GST filer. If not, please contact us and get yourself registered, and then ensure you get your TPN number, and then all the return filing, payment, all those things will be taken care. It's not a rocket science. We are going to come up with a robust system that will take care of all your fears and concerns. It's just a five clicks away, for doing the return filing. And then to do that successfully, you will need to, I advise all of you to keep your business transactions properly, especially the tax adjustment notes and the import declarations that you for all the import that you make. And then along with that, we have a series of services we lined up for you, and then we will reach out to you, because registration is going to be all online. You need not come to DRC. It's going to be that simple. And then we are going to accept your assessment as a final assessment. So we are not going to come after you unless you all engage in a fraud. And if you do fraud, that the system is going to detect. And then refund and all, that's the biggest issue in our legacy system. So everything is again going to become online. And then there are a lot of incentives which we would like to discuss detail when we start training you.
Yes.
So with this word, I'd like to thank the organizer, our media partner, for organizing this.
Yes, thank you, panelists, for the clarity, honesty, and valuable insights shared today. GST rollout will undoubtedly transform the taxes, the way taxes are collected and businesses operate in Bhutan. It won't be without challenges, as we have seen. We have discussed a lot of challenges, but there is an opportunity to create a fairer, cleaner, and more efficient tax environment, which is what we are looking at. So to every businesses watching, big or small, this is the time to prepare. Register early, ask questions, attend trainings, and take advantage of the support that is being rolled out. From all of us here, Thank you for watching, and we wish everyone a smooth and informed transition into Bhutan's GST era that will begin on January 2026. Thank you for watching.
자체다 샵도 태기배 태기럼 룩 삼보소 용들 톨레 샵도 피 뇨촌 탑으로 히사사 라치베르 데톡도 잔염 잔된 예미테 긴루펜 빌람 룩이 태기럼 룩 삼보이 벨젤루 펜비 GST 긴루펜 빌람 룩이 태기람 룩 삼보이